the writer is quoting Psalm 16:10.
Right.
The word "the grave" in Psalm 16:10 is the Hebrew word Sheol.
Right.
The word "the grave" in Acts 2:27 is the Greek word Hades.
Ah, very good.
So it makes sense to me that Hades equals Sheol.
Mm-hmm.
From one language to the other, we have a very successful transition.
There is a confirmation.
Okay, and we'll get to another one in a minute. But I want to remember we mentioned translation things.
Yes.
Read that Acts 2:27 now from the King James Version.
Because thou wilt not leave my soul in hell, neither wilt thou suffer thine Holy One to see corruption.
Okay, now read that same scripture from the New Revised Standard Version.
You will not abandon my soul to Hades, or let your Holy One experience corruption.
So right here we have three different translations, and that word Hades is, first of all, in one translation left untranslated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Second, it's translated hell,
Mm-hmm.
and the same word is translated the grave.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, you have to ask yourself, why is that? Same exact word, and you have three translators treating it differently. Let's perform another test, because you don't want to just say, okay, that one was lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's go to another couple of Old Testament scriptures and then to the New Testament counterpart.
Isaiah 25, verse 8. He will swallow up death forever. The sovereign Lord will wipe away the tears from all faces. He will remove the disgrace of his people from all the earth. The Lord has spoken.
And now read Hosea 13:14, because these two scriptures are both quoted in one New Testament scripture.
I will ransom them from the power of the grave. I will redeem them from death. Where, O death, are your plagues? Where, O grave, is your destruction? I will have no compassion.
So you have Isaiah 25:8 and Hosea 13:14, two Old Testament prophecies. Now, the Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians 15:54 and 55 combines these two prophecies and quotes them.
So, when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, Death is swallowed up in victory.
See, now that was the Isaiah scripture.
O death, where is thy sting? O grave, where is thy victory?
And that's the Hosea scripture. And again, Jonathan, when we look at the Hosea scripture, the word for grave is the word Sheol.
Mm-hmm.
When we look at the 1 Corinthians scripture, the word for grave is Hades.
Hades, yep.
So it's pretty conclusive, I think, anyway. It's just my opinion, but when you have a specific word used to translate another word from another language, we can run with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and it seems to be consistent throughout the scriptures that that's what's actually happening here. So I think that's important. This is a necessary detour to the New Testament for a few minutes because we need to establish that the scriptures are consistent. See, to me, that's you can't have this discussion unless you have that premise.
You're right.
That there's some kind of a consistency through the scriptures. Now, there's a continual unfolding through the scriptures, but there's a consistency in terms of the of what truth is, for instance. Now, let's take just a quick moment and go back to that website that we were talking about before, and just quote a few lines from there.
The Bible gives the location of hell.
Okay, that's what their claim is.
When Jesus Christ died on the cross, he descended into hell. In Acts 2, Peter is speaking, verse 31. Seeing this before, spake of the resurrection of Christ, that his soul was not left in hell. When Jesus Christ died, his soul went into hell. And in Matthew 12:40, Jesus Christ says, For as Jonas was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. The Bible is clear. Hell is inside the earth. Ephesians 4:9 says of Jesus, Now that he ascended, what is it but that he also descended first into the lower parts of the earth? So far as we can tell from Scripture, the present hell is somewhere in the heart of the earth itself. It is also called the pit in Isaiah 14:9 and verse 15, and Ezekiel 32 verses 18 through 21, and the abyss in Revelation 9 verse 2. The great pit, or hell, would only need to be about 100 miles or less in diameter to contain, with much room to spare, all the 40 billion or so people who have ever lived, assuming their spiritual bodies are the same size as their physical bodies.
Well, isn't that comforting to know? And that was quoted from a book by Henry Morris, The Bible Has the Answer. Okay, so Jonathan, the assumption here from this particular website is that hell is in the center of the earth or thereabouts, and there's plenty of room for anybody who's doubting. Okay, they did some math on that. And what they're saying is that Jesus went there, so he knows it's there, and they're talking about it, hell being in the earth. That's the message here. So they're saying it's in the center of the earth because of the heat. Now, I can almost come to a point of maybe slightly, sort of, agreeing with a tiny part.
Okay, and what tiny part is that?
That you have an indication of something in the earth.
Okay.
Okay. And let's go back again now to the Old Testament to establish what we're talking about there, because I think there is some truth to that piece of that argument, and I really think that's about it, from our perspective. But let's go back to the Old Testament and look at Sheol translated. We looked at Sheol translated the grave, remember? Mm-hmm. We looked at Sheol translated as hell. Mm-hmm. It's also in the Old Testament translated pit, and it's translated 3 different times pit, and these are the scriptures.
Job 17, verse 16. They shall go down to the bars of the pit when our rest together is in the dust.
Okay, go down to the bars of the pit. And then Numbers 16, 28 to 33.
And Moses said, Hereby ye shall know that the Lord hath sent me to do all these works, for I have not done them of mine own mind. If these men die the common death of all men, or if they be visited after the visitation of all men, then the Lord hath not sent me. But if the Lord make a new thing, and the earth open her mouth and swallow them up, and with all that appertain unto them, and they go down quick into the pit, then ye shall understand that these men have provoked the Lord. And it came to pass, as if it had made an end of speaking all these words, that the ground clave asunder that was under them, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed them up, and their houses, and all the men that appertained unto Korah, and their goods. They and all that appertained to them went down alive into the pit, and the earth closed upon them, and they perished from among the congregation.
Now, there's a lot to be said about that particular scripture, Jonathan, but that's a graphic story where there was there were rumblings in the camp, a revolution almost happening, and Korah is leading men against Moses, and there's a separation. And the men on Korah's side, literally, there's an earthquake, the earth opens up, and they're swallowed up into what's called the pit. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, the question as we go into the break is that pit a specific location in the center of the earth, or is it just a hole in the ground?
This is Jonathan and Rick with Christian Questions on News Talk 104.7 WXLM. Give us a call at the end of the break, 860-442-9956. That's 442-WXLM. Stay tuned.